Hello guys, and welcome to another video. If you are a new viewer, welcome to the channel. If you are returning, thanks for tuning in. Today I've got a really exciting video. This is my first time racing at Heffron Park, and this week they decided to switch it up. If you're familiar with Heffron Park, you'd know that you are usually riding the opposite direction, but today we are doing reverse Heffron Park. Now, before I start anything, I want to just point out quickly, maybe you noticed at the flags at the start, but there is an absolutely killer wind today. I put the arrows for the wind on the screen here, but that will affect how a lot of the race plays out because of how strong that wind was. Anyway, I'm going to talk you guys through the first lap, and then I'm going to go through some of the highlights of the race, and I hope that you would enjoy the conclusion of it. Now, I've never raced this course before, but I have ridden here, and Heffron Park, if you're not familiar with it, is probably the most famous crit course here in Sydney. It is famous for having the worst road pavement quality of all time. You can see here it's a mixture between asphalt and this CRCP concrete, all of which is in horrendous condition. It is affectionately known as a goat track, and what you'll see is the road width is also goes from being like almost like a full lane road. In some points here, as we're going up the hill here, you'll see it almost narrows down to the point where it's like almost half a lane width. So what you'll see a lot is that the peloton, it bunches in and out. Now today I'm riding with C grade, and it was an enormous group. I think the biggest race I've ever done. Granted, this is only my third race, but I think there was probably about between 20 and 30 people in this race. Combine that with bad pavement quality, lots of turns as you see here in the video, and a very narrow path. Positioning within the peloton was absolutely crucial. Now, the other races I've done, I've gotten away with having bad positioning just because the road was so wide and it was quite easy to move up in the bunch. But today, this is where I learned for the first time that moving up within the bunch is not just something that you can just say and do. It's something you need to be extremely conscious of at all times. So here we are doing the first lap, and I'm already, without even doing anything, I'm already at the back of the group, and I've found myself in the last few riders. What I can see here as we're going through some of these corners is that it is messy. So the number one thing that I'm trying to do right now is find out ways to move up in the group. Now, I've watched some crit videos, and I've seen, especially like NorCal Cycling and other guys, they said, you know, always use the corners to move up, or find opportunities in the course where people slow down, where you can move up for free. Because I guess anyone could move up to the front of the group if you're willing to spend 1,000 watts for like 10 seconds. But the whole idea is to move up to the front of the group the most efficiently. So on this first lap here, what I was looking at was ways I could do that. Now, just to quickly talk you through what you're seeing on the screen, my heart rate monitor wasn't working. So today we've only got cadence in the bottom left. We've got our powers in watts in the middle, speed on the right hand side, top right hand corner we've got the course with the start and finish line shown in orange, and then we've got our lap timer. We're doing 14 laps a day. I think the course was about 40 minutes plus 2 laps, so it ended up being 14 laps. And what we'll also show you on here is the fastest lap that we've done so far in the race. Top of the screen you can see that the total length was a smidge under 30 kilometers, and that's the first lap done. As you can see, it takes around 3 minutes 30 to do a lap. Granted, that was a slow one. There'll be some fast ones later. But yeah, let's get into it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip ahead to some sections of the video, which is a bit more interesting because the whole thing's about 45 minutes, and I'll just put in the best parts of the race for you guys to watch. So we've skipped ahead to, this is the 5th lap right now, and we're about 1/3 into the race. Now, I highlighted before, I was trying to find opportunities to move up in the peloton without expending too much energy, and this was one of the perfect spots to. This is the tailwind straight, and you can see that people are even soft pedaling, just drinking water, and I just move up on this right hand side, pretty much uncontested. I'm not doing any crazy watts, and I'm just moving up the peloton, and as we come to this corner here, it lets me slide up perfectly, not getting pushed all the way out to the back. And being at the front of the group here ended up being really important because you can react to any attacks on the front, you can see what's going on, and you can also take a more choice line. So here I'm probably in the top, maybe say 6 wheels, and this is where I want to be. Now, what I'd find out later on is it's one thing to get yourself to a good spot in the peloton, but it's another thing to actually hold your position. Your job's not done once you get there. Anyway, I'm riding here on the right hand side of the road, making sure that I'm sheltered from the wind on the left. You can see I'm only doing 250, 400 watts, not going crazy. The people on the left are definitely copying all the wind. Now fast forward to the end of that 5th lap and you'll see the importance of being out here at the front. It's strung out right now, single file, and as you see here, people are moving up on the right, and this is why it is so important to be at the front, because these guys here are about to jump on the front of the group, and when we come around the corner and we get into that tailwind section on the main straight, you can already see they're putting the hammer down, and I almost caught off guard. I'm doing 500 watts here and I thought, okay, I can ease off a little bit, but these guys are already pulling away and I have to jump back up again to almost 500, 600 watts just to stay on their wheel. And look, there's no rear camera, but I can tell you for sure all the people behind us would have been caught napping, and they would have been strung out and doing much higher power just to try and catch that back up. So that is the importance of being at the front of the group. Now these guys here go in an absolute flyer. I think he was trying to do a breakaway, which is probably not the easiest to do on a tailwind section, or maybe he just wanted to make the race hard enough that you know, some people got dropped. But you can tell we're going fast for sure. It is strung out, and I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to show you guys what happens later on. Couple of laps later, it's all back together, and look at that, I've already given up all that hard work I spent trying to get to the front of the group, and here I am sitting near the back again. There's 2 guys riding off the front, and I think I didn't even really notice at the time because they were so far in front of us, and you can barely see them through the screening of the courts here. But these 2 guys are racing off. Now this is a preem lap, which is something I didn't mention before. Now if I was at the front of the group, would I been able to respond to it? Yes. Would I have responded to it? Probably not. I don't have a huge sprint, and I was very, very conscious that I wanted to save my energy for the end of the race. I wasn't too concerned about a little bit of prize money. For me, getting on the podium was more important, so I was more happy to just sit in. Also, the other thing that I was thinking about at this time was we are on the 12th lap now. I have the time on my Garmin and I was looking at that, and I knew we didn't have that much longer. I knew we only had a few laps to go, so I was trying to conserve my energy, because right at this point now I'm thinking about what is my condition to get on the podium or win this race. Now looking at the bunch of the group here, we've got some pretty big strong guys. Added to that fact, my cousin Michael is here, and I don't think he has lost a sprint to date, so there is no way I'm going to the finish line with all these guys. If I ride into the finish line with 20 people, I think I probably have less than a 1 in 20 chance of coming away with a win there. So at this point I'm thinking, what can I do to try and maximize my chances of winning? For me, I'd rather go on a breakaway with 5 other people and at least have a 1 in 5 chance of winning. So at this point, I'm desperate to move up. This gap here on the right opens up, I'm shielded from the wind on the left, and I see people are starting to slow roll over the top of the hill, and I just keep the power going, and this was perfect. I'm moving up here on the right for free. Everyone else is probably doing the same amount of work, if not more, and I just get to move all the way up to the front of the group when it's all strung out, so this ended up being perfect. Now, I thought I had to do quite a bit more work, but this guy here in the blue Rafa bibs, oh man, he did me a solid, and he starts towing, and I think he wants to catch up to those 2-3 guys at the front. So he pulls me over to them, and I'm very grateful for that, because I've managed to save my legs and move all the way to the very front of the race for free. Now this is pretty funny here. That young gun in one of my heart videos is there at the front, and he's getting yelled at by the guy on the front for not taking a turn. Looks like everyone wants him to go take a turn, but he's just going to sit in, conserve his energy. You know what? He's a smart racer. I'll give him that. But here we go. I found myself at the very front. One of the guys from the breakaway up ahead, he's dropped off and come back, so there's one solo up the road, but he's tired because he's just done that preem lap sprint. He's done a breakaway and everyone's swarming around. This guy in front of me pulls in front, but he doesn't seem to have that much energy. His head is down, and then this guy here in the grey Rafa, he sprints off, and I'm like, this is my chance. We've got 2 laps to go after this one, and I need to do a long range attack. Now I don't think I can ride solo for for 10 minutes straight, but I sure can do it with another person if we take turns and we cooperate well. So right now I'm putting my head down, I come around past him, make sure I slot in front of him so he gets a nice draft off me, and I am going to just pump out the watts. Now I can sit very comfortably at about 300 watts and do a nice solid effort on there, keep my heart rate under control. Not that my heart rate monitor was working, but I'm going to put in a solid effort here because I want to build up that gap to the group. I know they're going to be chasing us, and as I look over my shoulder from this corner, I can see they're not too far back, and in fact I will show you some photos later of how close they managed to get to us. But here we go, I flick the elbow, and this trooper, he pulls through and does a mega turn. He's absolutely pumping it on the front, and I'm going to sit in, and you can see in the tailwind section he's probably doing 400 watts in the front, and I'm sitting in doing maybe 200 if that. Now I didn't let myself rest too long because I know that we have to keep the momentum up. We cannot even give the guys behind us an inkling that we are slowing down, otherwise they'll try and jump over to us. So I'm getting back on the front and I'm really pushing it now. We're going into these corners at 50k an hour, which is perfect because I know when we're with the group it slows down to about the low 40s. So this is where you can make up time on a breakaway by just absolutely flying through the corners because you don't have to have any regard for anyone else. I've done my turn, and as we're about to hit the headwind section, I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity to let this other guy do some work for me. So I'm going to let the video of the breakaway play out, and I hope you enjoy. I can tell the guy in the front he's pretty tired, and I'm encouraging the young guy to take a turn. I'm like, let's work, mate. So he goes on the front, and I was so gassed at this point. I was just pushing myself to the absolute limit. As we pull through the start finish line here, they were ringing the bell for the final lap, and I did not even hear it. I was just so locked in onto this guy's wheel, making sure that I was getting the best draft possible. Everyone's cheering, and I had some adrenaline going, and now me and this SXCC guy, we've been putting in some hard work on that straight, and you can see from the left hand side of the screen there, the rest of the C-grade peloton is not too far behind, but we've actually managed to extend that gap very slightly. It's probably about 50 meters now, and here we go, our young gun is having another go. Lucky number 88, I'm number 89, he stole my lucky number 88, but I think it's giving him some extra watts right now as he pushes over this hill. As we're closing into the last half of the final lap, both of us in the back of our mind are thinking, how is this going to play out? Now there is a solo guy up the road but between us, it's second and third on the podium. But obviously number 2 is better than number 3. So we're both thinking about that and how we're going to play it out. Judging from the distance left, I thought I could do one solid effort on the front, push him through to do another turn, and then when he finishes that turn, that would be my opportunity to attack, since it'd be within reaching distance of the finish line. So here I am here, just making sure that I'm getting in that last big dig to make sure that the peloton doesn't catch up to us or get them close enough that people think they can jump over to us. And here we go, he's giving another turn as well, and he's actually going to do a really solid effort and pull through this whole turn area. Now we both looked over our shoulders and we can see that the peloton's not too far behind, but there's no room to play cat and mouse. I pulled up next to him, and this is the bit where I'm like, I just need to absolutely go for it. I flick it up a gear and I just start pushing it out. I'm not full on sprinting, but I'm trying to just make that gap so he can't get onto my wheel. I'm moving myself over to the left side of the road so that the wind is not going to be benefiting him with the draft. And I'm just making sure I've got enough in the tank to get all the way to the finish line. I did manage to create a little bit of a gap, and it was enough to get myself a second place. So I'm very proud of that effort. Obviously first place would have been nicer, and in fact, like I said before, I was so gassed I didn't even hear the bell, and I actually kept riding for another half a lap until I caught the guy who won the race, and I confirmed with him that the race was actually over. A couple of my friends came along to the race as well and took this video here, as well as some photos that you're about to see, so big shout out to them for attending and cheering me on. So for the entire race, I averaged 200 watts, which is 3.2 watts per kilo. My normalized power was 224 watts, and we had an average speed of 38.6. Just for your information purposes, I also have cropped out what it would have been for the breakaway segment. And so for the breakaway, I did 280 watts, 283 normalized, which is 4.4 watts per kilo, and I did that for bit over 7 minutes, which brought us to an average speed in the breakaway of just under 41 kilometers an hour. And for further comparison, I've taken out my cousin's data since he was with the peloton, and for that portion where we were in the breakaway for the 2 laps, they averaged 39.8. So we actually did manage to pull away from them and gain a little bit of time. But as you'll see in the video of the finish, we were very, very close to getting caught. The guy who came 3rd place, he only got that 3rd place by a couple of meters. So it just goes to show every bit of power that you put out and every bit of effort you make in the breakaway, it might pay off. Anyway guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video as well as the breakdown and some of the analysis. There's going to be a lot more crit content coming, so if you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, hit the like button, and if you have some feedback for me, why don't you leave it in the comments below. Alright guys, take care, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.